I gotta scroll back to this page real quick. So 925, yeah, that's your homework. I think most of us picked up those worksheets ahead of time. So this is our warm-up. You may use a calculator if you want. Solve for the unknown sides. Be careful. They don't all work the same. Double check which side of the triangle is it that we're solving. You have these on your yellow paper. Remember, hypotenuse, as the stems list 3 will tell us, means under. Squared is not 40. In case that's what people were discussing when I heard somebody say 40. 40. Good. One more. Anybody else? One left. No, there should be one extra. I print one extra for your class, and I think 2 or 3 extras for the other class. Because there's more of them. There's more chance of it. Oh, I am totally going to random card this, by the way. Oh, and I keep forgetting to say this, but it almost doesn't need said because you guys have been pretty sweet all day already. Don't act different, all because I'm having surgery and whatever. Just please, which I don't think you have. I still had to yell at Bear at lunch, and so the normal has continued on. So, yeah, and Xander's still giving me crap about every time I drop stuff. Please just don't act different. We're still, everything's the same. I've known about this for over a month. I was just was able to keep a secret from you guys. So
Why?
we didn't. Well, first we still didn't even want to tell you right now because we wanted to wait and let you guys meet the person who's going to be my sub and everything else. But with all the COVID-19 concerns going on, we just wanted to let you guys know, let parents know, because whatever happens, we don't want more shock later. So, the school staff. I told the school staff back in January, and I found out I was probably gonna have to have surgery. Then. First week of February. By the way, I guess I should have said this morning. This all goes together. Sorry for all the school days I've missed this year. That's why. It's been appointments and scans and
Good afternoon,
all those
Reyes
days.
Garber. Please
Aside
come
from
to the
United
remote
Shingles,
office
and
for a
that
moment.
just sucks.
Reyes Garber, please come to the remote office for a moment. Thank you.
Mr. Hudson,
Sir.
the calculator's on the wrong mode, I think.
Who is it? Go to mode. And then take it off of math print. So mode is right there. Take it to classic instead of math print. So go down, highlight it, hit enter.
Do they just auto go to math print?
I'm not sure. Reset the calculator and find out.
Why do they do that? How do you reset the calculator?
Button on the back, or you hit seconds.
It automatically goes to
There you go.
Why?
Ooh! Thank you for volunteering, Ike. So Ike wants to remind us of how we find the hypotenuse, because in A, that is the missing side. It is a hypotenuse. So Ike, when we look at a squared plus b squared plus c squared, which is that famous... I said a squared plus b squared plus c squared. If you misheard it, my apologies, but Ike is solving this problem. When we look at the famous Pythagorean theorem, which of those letters represents the side that is the hypotenuse? Ike, you're a really good ventriloquist. I swear that came out of Xander's mouth first. So this is our c side. So even when we solve for c squared, we then have to take the square root. So how do we square a number, Ike? Do you add it to itself or multiply it with itself? Multiply it with itself. So take your one leg, shake it all about. Take your other leg, shake it all about. Then you do the hokey pokey. 24 squared is too tough for me. It's going to be a little under 625.
5 something.
576.
And the other one is 1024.
Wait.
There's an easier way to do this.
Okay.
You just have to divide 20 root 4 and 32 by 8.
Why?
Because if you divide 24 by 8, you get 3. And if you divide 32 by 8, you get 4. So then the hypotenuse would logically be 5 times 8, which is 40.
Oh.
if you recognize that 24 and 32 live in the same family of multiples. We are waiting a second. That's why I paused right there. They are in the 8 family, right? 8, 16, 24, ding, 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 ding. 32, oh hey, 3 and 4, we know the other one is 5, but it's the 5 from the 8 family of 40. Now, if we didn't know that or hadn't recognized that, thank you very much, Henry. Good catch. What is 32 squared?
1024.
That's like a computer number. So here's the issue that I normally see on the test that we'll end up taking next week, 1600 even.
Yeah.
You forget how to square root. In the calculator, everyone should grab a calculator at this moment. Make sure that you see the difference between x root and square root. Look at the caret. Above that is not what you want. It's above the x squared is what you want. Now the symbol above the caret, I want to review this again because who knows how much school we might miss before testing, is how you do any other root. 3rd root, 4th root, 5th root, 8th root, doesn't matter. So you would, to use this green x root, you type in the number that you want, the like 3rd root, 4th root, 5th root, you type in that first. So you would type like 3 second caret x root 27, or whatever number you want to put under the root. So if you want to try that, 3 x root 27 should come out to be 3. If you do 3 x root 27. But to square root, you don't need to type a 2 first. That's why we use the square root button. Now if you want to use the x root button, you would just type 2 x root. And actually, the x root should pop up a tiny little box where your number goes, I think, depending on the calculator. So if we type in the square root of 1600, our calculator should pop up the symbol and probably open a parentheses. If you type in 1600 and nothing else, you don't have to close the parentheses. But if there's going to be anything else going on, you need to close the parentheses to end the square root. That's what closing the parentheses actually does. Sorry, doing some emphatic calculator, making sure that you get the right answer. Yes?
You put a parenthesis inside of the
I know.
radical and outside
I know.
of the radical.
I know. That, like, so seriously, when you hit parenthesis, it closes out here. So what, like, yes, proper notation would be I should put it in here, but then you could keep going under the same radical if you wanted. It actually closes the radical.
It's just something, like, in a program, you get a lot of syntax.
So actually, like, when you type it, I don't even think the radical extends.
It doesn't.
So it does on this calculator.
I don't think it does. That's a graphic calculator. It doesn't.
I know it does on the. Yeah, see, like, so on your calculator, the radical symbol doesn't keep going on the top. So all it looks like in your calculator
It's like a baby
is like
line.
check mark, parentheses, 1600. And then if you don't close parentheses here, nothing bad happens, but you should get yourself in the habit of closing it. And then in these calculators, in the fancy ones, you literally just hit the right arrow because there's no like open parenthesis. This is also an argument for like if you get birthday money or whatever and then find these on sale, you might as well pick up one of these calculators because they're sweet. Now, hopefully you don't do that and then years from now they're like, oh, we don't use those anymore. But for the past, like, I don't know, 40 years, everyone has used Texas Instruments. Which shows, like, if you want to make money, make something high quality and then... So on these fancier calculators, when you type second, and guys, this is what I'm doing so much about, like, pay attention to which button. This is still the same button on this fancier calculator, but notice there is no X root button. The X root that, like, we have on the TI-30. So if I do square root 1600, there's no open parenthesis. I just bump to the right, and now I'm out of the square root. Like, I'm no longer under the square root. On these calculators, for any of our friends who want to find the X root, or anybody once you get this kind of calculator, pretty much everything you want to find is in the math menu. And math menu option 5 is your X root. So example, like what I was saying about third root, you would type 3. You would go to the x root, 27. It's 3. Now the other cool thing that might send some of you deep down the rabbit hole is if you want to find everything this calculator has in it, you hit second, catalog. Like 0, which says catalog. That literally takes you into the list of everything this calculator can do. And most of this you probably don't understand yet, which is okay. But yeah, this is like literally... No. Yeah, like if you want to write code or if you want to like wherever... So you could come in here to like program and you could go to write a new program. So I can quit. So I could make a new one and create a new program, and then I'm going to add stuff in from that catalog menu to write whatever program I want. So that's how you can do like quadratic formula. You could actually write a program to do the Pythagorean theorem for you, so you don't have to type all the stuff in. Henry?
Can you write a program to
Write programs for you?
Write a program that would do that method of average squaring that one student that used to go here came up with?
Probably not, because you can just do the square root on the calculator. Like you just carry out the actual execution. Now you could write a program to approximate that square root to the closest fraction possible, but then you'd have to do some rounding stuff. You have to make it round to a nice rational decimal and then convert it to the fraction. Hazel.
How do you write a program on it?
We're not going down that rabbit hole today. Sorry, I knew some of you would be like, oh, look, how do we do this? Google. So Hazel, not right now, but Google later when you either have permission or it's not school time, like programming TI-84 Pythagorean theorem or whatever you want to program. There will be videos teaching you how to write programs in your calculator. Guys, I'm serious. Once you get a TI-84 and you learn a little bit about programming, it's easy. Like you understand, it's what? Guys, I've said many times, I dislike that word when you're like telling it to somebody else. What? Okay, it's easier. Because you just have to learn how to talk like a robot. Literally writing a program, you just have to like learn how to talk like a robot. Try this, it's on your paper. Coach Kelly, or we could say Smith if you want, has a third period PE class that is playing baseball. You have this on your paper, so I don't really need to read it for you. This is true information. The distance between each base is 90 feet. 90. It is almost 100 feet. You have to sprint once you hit that ball. And normally more because you run past the base. Yeah. If you run, well, you still run past it.
Not much.
I mean,
Unless you actually do, which is...
this is why people think teaching middle school is frustrating. I just find it fun. But when you're like, well, actually, not if you... The beginning of sentences being well, actually. Actually, I told my wife last night that... So... You have to figure out how to set this up, what you have, and what you're doing. The other thing I will tell you is the baseball diamond. It's really a baseball square.
Well, it's just a square that got flipped.
Well, yeah, but it's a square. Remember, like Ender's Game, there's no up or down.
Actually, it's a diamond.
Never changed it.
Oh, I was just saying that. I think I might have.
No, you don't need word.
It's meant that it.
See, it's hard to describe without writing it down.
This is nice.
Exactly.
Then
I know.
it would have the distance.
I would write down some calculations and test. I see what you're thinking, and I know why you're arguing with yourself. I would test it out. I don't know. I gotta write down some work. Do you have anything on your paper to support how you got there?
No, but I can explain it.
I don't care about just answers. I want to see the work. Dude, what does it hurt you to write the things down? You need a pencil?
Yeah.
Get one out of my jar, you goober. just told him to.
With permission.
But then he said,
Xander, when I said don't treat me differently, that didn't mean crank it to 11.
you need cranky.
Now, Henry just started thinking through this triangle, and then he stopped himself because he's like, oh, wait. But I think what you were heading towards, like, thinking about is if the throw's coming across here, and this, you brought up, is a what angle?
45.
It's a 45-degree angle to get from third to second, which means that if down to here, if this is a right angle, what type of triangle is this? It's a right. What type of right? Not equilateral.
As in 90 degrees.
It'd be isosceles.
Yes, I said I.
Because 45 degrees and 45 degrees. But that's not the throw we're making. We're making the throw all the way across from third to first. So actually, when we're told that this is 90, and this is 90, and we know that the baseball diamond is actually a baseball square, Audrey? Okay, sorry. I really thought you were going to help me with my way since we're halfway into it. Can we do your way after this? Yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah. Sorry, I was thinking this is 90 degrees because the baseball diamond is actually a baseball square. I meant to write 90 feet, but that's why my brain wrote a degrees. Audrey?
You could do the same thing with figuring out what the hypotenuse. What? Yeah, the hypotenuse is. You can.
Oh, because this. Oh, that's the hypotenuse. Hopefully we all realize that. So what Audrey's saying is if we look at our triangle as 90, 90, and the throw from third base to first base, it's just our hypotenuse. So this, here's another way you can solve for the hypotenuse. C, you might want to write this down even if you guys think you know it all. C is the square root of a squared plus b squared. So if you are one of those quick math people, C is the square root of 8100. Come on, brain, quit with the backwards.
1620. Yeah, 16. 200.
I cannot write the right number.
Which is 127.
8100 plus 8100. So we know it's actually radical of 16,200. That you're probably going to need a calculator for. Audrey, how long's the throw?
127.2792220.
Whoa, go back. 127. Let's say numbers the way they're meant to be said.
127.272792.
We're good. We're talking about feet. I thank you for the accuracy, but talking about feet,
Put 8 on it.
even put an 8 on it.
Yeah, the next number's 9.
The only reason why you never
So,
putting it in
hold up.
712.
Think about this. This is where I get griped or whatever you want to say. On the new commercial, or not new, I don't know. I was listening to the radio on the way to work today, and they're talking about how amazing this new Jeep is. And they say, and it has 8.7 feet of ground clearance to handle any weather. Nobody says 8.7 feet. Like, obviously, the Jeep commercial does, so what I'm saying is technically not true. But, like, you don't say that.
You say 9.
Right? It's like 8 feet, 7 inches, or 8 feet, 8 inches, or 8, like, so that's enough decimal places to go, unless somebody tells us to go more. But we'd be happier to make it like, well, that's really close to 127 feet and how many inches? What's like
And
point,
3 inches.
0.28? Yes, thank you, Alex. It's like 3 inches because it's just over 0.25.
Well,
Right.
that is
Point.
not really the base. That's from foul line to foul line. That's not actually from the front of the base. Wow, Liam.
Are you sure? Because I'm about to Google this just to see who's right. Because I'm curious.
I'm pretty sure that's right. Google it. Pretty sure it's foul line to foul line.
You're probably going to have to explain to us what you even mean by foul line to foul line versus base to base.
Well, one's closer and one's not.
Great description.
I mean,
Boom!
okay, so
wiki or do you want a picture?
A picture.
Well, that's another just math problem. That looks fancy.
So basically what I'm saying is I'm pretty sure, so this is your foul line. So
This is a baseball field. Here, hold on. If you want to actually be able to draw and write, give me like literally.
Please pardon the interruption. At the class change, could I please see Kaylin Young briefly in the remote office? Also, for all of our Phoenix family, today we would like to have all desktops and tabletops cleared at the end of the day to allow some time for some additional cleaning. So as best as possible at the end of the school day, please clear all desktops and tabletops to allow for some additional cleaning.
They're gonna come through and spray stuff down with a disinfectant.
yeah.
Which they do a lot of times, but they want things to be cleared off. It's like a hydro something. It's like a chemical reaction. Yeah.
Oh, we were talking about that right
And you
there.
don't want to touch it for a little while because it'll like make you kind of itchy and stuff. Because I did that one day.
It
I
dries
read
out
the
your
hard
skin
one.
too.
All right, Liam's gonna drop some sports knowledge on us. After you leave, Liam's gonna drop some sports knowledge because I'm not the person to do so.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure. It depends on the baseball field. So this stuff it depends on the baseball field because of the height of the back wall. So the foul line's right here. That's what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure from the
Is the
back
base
corner.
up against the foul line, or is there distance
So
between the base and the foul
So
line?
if this is the foul line, the base is right here. So the foul line actually, when you draw a foul line, you paint over that side.
So
of the
what
base.
you're saying is if you go from the inner, I'm
From the
asking
back
a
side of the
question.
base. to
Yes,
the
from the
back side.
outside of the base
Yeah.
to the outside of the base.
I'm pretty sure that's where.
Okay, so Liam's point, stand on your base. And if I stand on my base, Liam's point is when you throw, how are you going to throw the ball to me?
Well, I'm also going to step forward, so I'm actually
Yeah,
off the
and
base.
I'm going to step forward to come catch the ball.
Yeah.
So he's nitpicking, like it wouldn't actually be 127 feet, but okay, we're close.
And also,
It'd be like 120 feet, probably maybe. I like because I can step in a couple feet and reach out and catch, and so could Liam with his throw.
Second base is catcher's box.
Well, and the person at third throwing to first, it doesn't matter if they're on the base. Well, unless you're trying to do a double
well,
tag.
really, so the first base is generally, it depends on the batter, but the first base is generally like right here. Second base, like right
Yeah, but
here.
you assume your first baseman
Shortstop.
made it to the base, right?
And then third base. So really, usually
But
it's right
base
handed,
to base, though.
like the right.
Assume it's a double tag out situation.
So
Like,
probably the batter's gonna hit it over here because he's a righty.
right, because most batters are righty.
And then he's gonna charge it, and because he's a righty, he's gonna take his momentum and he's gonna bring it to first base. And then this guy comes over here
I
since
want
the
to
ball's
teach,
not
but he
popped
won't
to
let
him,
me.
and he's gonna stretch. And also he
Liam?
frames it so the umpire says you.
Just do not poke that smartboard with your pencil. That just scared me a lot. You did this.
My apologies for the interruption. I have just received clarification that McCord Drama is still on for tonight.
Woo!
Way Drama has canceled for tonight. Thank you.
All right, you got so mad about the COVID-19 outbreak when you were a child that you decided to become a city planner. Come with me. Come with me. Now, when there aren't crazy things going on, you do some work with landscaping and bushes and stuff like that. So at Wright City, because they love right angles, at Wright City, the Board of Supervisors has asked you to do the following. For fire safety, bushes will be cleared along the perimeter of the city. So what is the length of the perimeter of this city? So this is like Google, zoomed out view. This is one road at the edge of the city, road at the edge of the city, road at the edge of the city. All these bushes are going to be cleared. And literally, that's why, if you didn't notice, they cleared a bunch of trees and stuff over that way. It's so they can see for line of sight. So, police and fire and everyone can see for safety. This is true. This would actually happen. You might be asked to clear a bunch of bushes. So, work with your team. While this distance might be easy to figure out since each box is a foot, I'm not so sure about figuring out these because we don't know either of them. And you cannot use words like, oh, it's too diagonal. We need actual distances. So I'm going to give you at least 3 minutes to see if you can figure out how do we do this. If you already did this homework, you might have a leg up on us. See what I did there? A leg up.
Hey, man.
Yeah, sorry, a mile. Charlie's like, hey, bro, the city's not measured in feet, it's measured in miles. Except he said it much nicer than that. This is not on your paper. It is on your paper. You have this on your paper. You don't even need to look up here.
Okay, I got the angle.
Talk with each other.
They're not
Oh, you have a question?
those bushes.
Yes. It is a right angle. Now, Henry asked the question, can we assume? Assumptions are really dangerous. And if you've never heard the phrase why, so we can just because it's right city. But if we don't want to assume it, we can test it by checking their slopes. So when we look at the slope of this blue line, it goes up 2 and over 3. So this slope would be 2/3. To be perpendicular, you must be the, anybody?
Opposite.
What? The opposite?
Negative.
Well, that is opposite reciprocal, right?
Yeah.
So this needs to be -3/2, and it's real close to it. We're just gonna say it's a right. It looks a tiny bit off of that, but for the problem that we wanted to set up and the grid lines, we'll just say that this is right. But wait, even if it was right, and hold on. Even if it was right, and actually everybody hold on, my people spinning in the back and all that, I can't solve blue or green because we only know yellow. And when we only know one piece, we can't figure out the other 2 pieces. What are you trying to say, Alex?
Okay. Well, you can just make more triangles.
What do you mean make more triangles? Because actually, if we want to be technical, that's not a right angle. So even if we had 2 of the sides, it's not a right triangle, technically. Hold up. Alex is talking.
So you put the right triangles.
Speak in colors.
No, for green,
Okay.
would connect like with straight lines across the grid to create.
Oh, we could go boom, boom.
Well, I wasn't really saying that, but you could.
So we could come there and then drop it down. Or outside
Yeah.
of the city, we can measure. This is really 3/4. Guys, everyone draw this on your paper, please. Any, I know there's lots of noise from other places in the pod, but this is where this gets important. Any diagonal line on a grid can be found. Sorry, I got too far into that sentence. The length of it can be found by setting up a right triangle. Now, this one's easy. It's a 3, 4, 5. So this has to be 5. But up here, there's no like easy 2, 3, 4 or anything like that. So when I set up that right triangle for this blue distance,
You don't need it.
what do you mean we don't need it? Oh, I mean, sure, you could use the Pythagorean theorem, but we might as well do this technique here. 2 squared plus 3 squared, what's 2 squared? 3 squared? Ooh, so radical 13 is what my length is going to be?
It's gonna be 3.605 something.
Okay, so that's, give me to the hundredths place.
6.0. Well, 6.1.
6/1, right? So then, for the whole perimeter of the city, we would add up all these lengths.
Hey, you added
Oh,
8
not
for
3. I know.
How many years of college did we have for this job? does the city have a
Depending on the
budget?
city, probably a 4-year degree at this point. I hate to say it, but the 4-year degree, either a 2-year or a 4-year like college or university degree, now is kind of the equivalent to a high school diploma. You can't get many jobs with just a high school diploma. Like, sure, McDonald's or maybe like landscaping for Bob Joe's like landscape company that he pays you cash and doesn't have health insurance. But like any legitimate job, like working for the city, if you're a city planner, you're gonna have to have some kind of degree, like in city planning, actually. Because I have a friend who works for Dublin, and I tried to get a job with Parks and Rec over the summer, but they pay squat. They pay like $9 an hour.
I can make more than
My
that.
friend makes $20 a day repping.
McDonald's.
My friend makes
Oh,
$20 a day
There's
repping.
guys, if you are athletes, especially you, there are not enough refs and umpires right now. Like there's a huge shortage of refs and umpires, so if you get trained, huh?
You only ever see like 2 referees. I just
Right.
want to throw a parent someday. I just want to toss them out of the ring. That'd be awesome.
Like actually throw? Or?
Oh no,
No,
just
like,
get out.
hey, like, get out, and like, cause like if they're like being disrespectful.
Yeah, especially what the?
Yeah, are you okay? Is everything okay? Is it the video?
Can we not have school tomorrow?
What?
I don't know, but it seems like school's out how loud they are.
Is school out?
No.
Is school
Hey, some of us are trying to teach. You especially. Who was that? Hey, everyone needs to sit down. Sit down. Vinny, where are you going? Sit down. I really wanted to win one more math problem, but okay, goodbye. No.
I need my pencil.
This is when I don't do anything but stare. I've learned that. 8 years ago, I would have like yelled and tried to be quiet. Watch, it'll work.
What am I gonna do without you?
It might not be here. Who knows if I'll be here today. I'm just gonna wait.
$1 million.
No more steak testing.
We don't know about that yet.
Sorry.
Oh wait.
Oh no, oh no, oh no! It's like there's no other way. Right now, Obby's like, wait. Just go over. Yeah, I wonder why. Maybe because there was an outburst of noise from over there. Look, we were deep in a conversation about like baseball diamonds, and Liam was trying to teach us stuff, and like we should have probably gotten you, right? Like, we were deep in it, and you guys.
This done to the This done, please come to